So Tim Tszyu steps out there and he does exactly what he's supposed to do. Gets his man up against the ropes in the 4th round, hits him with a bunch of punches, corner comes in, throws the towel. Game over, Tim Tszyu walks away with the stoppage victory. Everybody's pleased. But is that really the story, right? Is that the entire story? And I would make the argument that it's not. I would make the argument that Tim Tszyu was supposed to come out here and win. Tim Tszyu was supposed to come out here and look good, right? These are incredibly important things right now. Based off of these last 2 fights, Tim Tszyu is a case study in how you can go from hero to almost zero in the blink of an eye in boxing. That's the way it's been. That's the way it's always been. That's probably the way it's always going to be. But you look at stepping into that fight with Fedora, he was the favorite. He was supposed to go in there. He was the one supposed to snatch up these belts. Things were primed for him. He was on this run. Then all of a sudden he goes out, he gets the free cut, blood all over the place. He ends up losing the fight. People can forgive that. People can look past that. Then he steps into that fight with Murtazaliev and he ends up getting blown out, stopped, hurt, nasty knockout. All of a sudden now everything's different. All of a sudden now not only do you got the 2 losses, but you just went out there and got smoked. Everything changes. So he's supposed to come out in this fight and this is supposed to be the rebirth. This is supposed to be him making his announcement, coming back onto the scene saying that 154 pounds, don't forget about me. I'm still that guy. So he comes in against Joey Spencer, ends up getting that 4th round stoppage. But for me, the questions aren't answered. That's the thing about this. So you went out there and you got off. I never questioned Tim Tszyu's offensive ability. There was never a moment in any of the fights, other than when he had that cut, but there was never a moment in any of his fights when I looked and I thought, you know what's holding Tim Tszyu back? It's his offense. You know what's holding Tim Tszyu back? It's that he can't get his punches off. That's never been the case. You look at that last fight that he had with Murtazaliev, it's the defense that was the problem. It's the defense that had him eating shots that he couldn't handle. I look at this one, I didn't see any defensive prowess. I look at this one and the questions about his defense aren't answered. I look at this one and what I see is 2 things primarily. Number 1, Tim Tszyu got his offense off. Just like we've always seen in the past, he was able to go out there, he was able to make it happen. First round, super slow. Second round, he starts to get the jab off. By the middle of the 3rd round, he was starting to really put his punches together. By the 4th round, he's getting off on this dude and the fight ends up getting stopped. Great. Like I said, we never saw that as a problem. He stayed on the front foot. That was never an issue. He did that again. He was on the front foot. He's walking his man down. He goes in there and eventually he gets all of his shots off. Okay? What I saw was, he's got good hand speed, but he's got a lack of explosiveness. Always had that. Still the same thing here. I don't like the way that he doesn't use enough feints. I don't like the way that he doesn't change his speed up. He doesn't change his directions up. He's not doing enough things to cause deception or misdirection or try to confuse his opponent quite enough. I didn't see any of those changes or work on any of those things. He was basically, for all intents and purposes, he was right in front of his guy for a lot of the time. He was able to get caught with a lot of punches. That's the problem that he's always had. That's the same thing that we saw tonight. But the fight was short. He looked like he had a little bit of ring rust or a little bit of hesitancy in the beginning. He started to get that off and then get his shots off. Maybe he wasn't worried about what was coming back at him. Maybe he was just kind of caught up in the moment. I don't know. That's why I say that this didn't answer questions for me. Coming off the last 2 performances, coming into this one, we had questions about Tim Tszyu. Those questions weren't answered. I still have some of those questions. I would expect if he goes out in his next fight, it would be a better performance. The ring rust would be gone. He may feel a little bit more confident. Maybe he feels a little bit more comfortable after having got caught and stopped the way that he did. Now he got caught with a few punches in this one. He feels better, like, hey, my chin's going to hold up. Everything's fine. I'm the same guy that I've always been. Maybe that question internally, maybe that he answered it for himself. But what we need to see from him, if he's going to be the man at 154 pounds, if he's going to compete amongst the best in the world at 154 pounds, if he's going to end up finally getting that Charlo fight that he wants, since Charlo said that he's coming back. All of these things are kind of on the table and playing out, but if he's going to be that guy, there's still things that we need to see from him that we are unsure of. We need to see how he's going to handle some resistance. We need to see how he's going to handle a guy who's going to counterpunch back at him and force him to be more defensively responsible. We need to see what's going to happen if he can't get that jab off against the guy and how he's going to adapt and respond, right? These are questions that we got. These are questions that we are going to need to see answered. So let me know what you guys think. Were you impressed by this performance with Tim Tszyu? Did he do everything that you wanted him to do? Did he do everything that you think he would do? What does he need to do to be the best in the world at 154 pounds? And does he have that in him? Let me know what you guys think.